Assalamu alaikum guys, welcome back. Let's get into it.
But we have two remaining strongholds.
Under pressure and growing isolation. Benjamin Netanyahu, speaking quite deliberately in English, made his case to the world, defending his plan to expand the war in Gaza.
Contrary to false claims, this is the best way to end the war and the best way to end it speedily.
And claiming the international press, which Israel has not allowed to operate independently in Gaza, had lied about claims of starvation there. At the very same moment in New York, Netanyahu faced international condemnation. A joint statement from the UN Security Council's European members, including Britain and France, opposing the Israeli military expansion and the very real starvation in Gaza.
The IPC has warned that famine is unfolding in Gaza. Children are dying from starvation. Hunger is so severe that desperate civilians are taking the risk of getting killed at aid distribution sites in order to feed their families.
There followed an emergency session of the Security Council in which the fractures between Europe and the US are now ever more public and ever more clear.
This is not a path to resolution. It is a path to more bloodshed.
The United States supports Israel's right to defend itself against Hamas's terrorism. And ultimately, Israel has a right to decide what is necessary for its security and what measures are appropriate to end the threat posed by Hamas and other similar groups.
And yet, Gaza's starving population now faces the prospect of even worse to come, with Israel planning military escalation and total control of Gaza City. In Tel Aviv last night, tens of thousands took to the streets to oppose the war plans. Some are calling for a general strike, or for IDF soldiers to refuse to carry out the expansion. There are even reports the head of the IDF himself, Ayal Zamir, only in post since March, is against the plans. But the pressure on Prime Minister Netanyahu is coming from all directions. The far right, who are keeping him in power, think the plans don't go far enough. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich went on camera to say he's lost faith in Netanyahu's desire to win the war. Israel's most watched reality TV show hasn't even been immune from the growing sense of unrest. Anti-war activists disrupted the broadcast of Big Brother on Channel 13 wearing Leave Gaza t-shirts. Families of the hostages still held by Hamas believe Prime Minister Netanyahu's plans are putting their loved ones in greater danger.
We need a deal to end this war and save them.
At home and abroad, Netanyahu is facing growing calls to change course, although not yet from the one place that really matters, the White House in Washington, D.C. Right, some of the Israeli hostage families are in London this weekend taking part in a march on Downing Street. They're worried that the UK government might not insist on the release of their loved ones by Hamas in return for recognising a Palestinian state. A warning, there are some distressing details in Sarah Beale's report.
Just as Prime Minister Netanyahu was promising that Israel would cease its war on Gaza if Hamas released all the remaining hostages, thousands were taking to the streets of London to call for their return. A broad coalition of groups representing a spectrum of opinions on Mr. Netanyahu and his political allies. Their one uniting grievance: that the UK government should never have said it would recognise a Palestinian state before the hostages are freed.
I think there is no contradiction between sympathising with the awful situation that Palestinian civilians have found themselves in, which is largely a result of Hamas, which is an Islamist terrorist organisation. But I think that leadership sometimes means taking difficult decisions, and this was a decision that will actually do the reverse of what the government intends. It will delay the release of the hostages, it will delay the end of the Hamas regime, and that's why we're here today.
Among the marchers, those here in the UK with connections to the hostages that are still being held and those now dead. Adam Mahanit's cousin Saki Edan was taken and killed.
My cousin was taken hostage after his firstborn daughter was murdered on October 7th in front of him. The family's horror was live streamed onto Facebook, and he was taken away with the blood of his firstborn still on him. We fought very hard to release him, to free him. Unfortunately, not alive. We did get him back. It took a long time for forensics to even identify his body. He was so badly treated. So we're just really trying now very hard to not wallow in grief, but there's still 50 hostages left in Gaza, and we're doing everything we can to try to free them.
But how to bring that about? Opinions here differ.
I do not maybe represent all of them, to represent the fact that not all Israelis and Jewish people are the same, and there are those of us who think it's time to end the war, and it's time to finally agree some kind of a deal that will bring them all home. And
you want to end the war?
I do want to end the war.
Our Prime Minister doesn't seem to realise that Hamas is a terrorist organisation, and he's negotiating with a terrorist organisation.
The chief rabbi in good voice as the march ended with a rally in Downing Street just a few yards away from where yesterday's demonstration in support of Palestine Action took place, resulting in hundreds of arrests. Although this gathering was relatively trouble-free, it's the end of a long and busy weekend for the Metropolitan.
I don't know really what to say, you know what I mean? This Israeli Prime Minister, who's trying to defend his plan, saying this is the best possible situation to wipe out Hamas. You've got a terrorist group like Hamas, and you've got terrorist politicians, like Netanyahu and his party, two terrorists trying to take each other out. One's got an army, and one's got a few weapons here and there. One is starving the whole population, and one is just attacking them. I don't know what they're doing, to be honest. A lot of media is saying that, that Hamas is using them as a human shield and whatnot, but there's no evidence of that. If you can maybe send me a video, I'll probably check it out.
Police.
An Israeli airstrike has killed at least 5 Al Jazeera journalists and camera operators in Gaza. Anas al-Sharif, who was a prominent reporter and has covered the war extensively, died alongside 4 of his colleagues from the network. The Israeli Defense Forces claimed he was part of Hamas, but Al Jazeera denies that, saying Israel had silenced a witness to the war. Our correspondent John Ray joins me now. John, what more do we know?
Well, for context, Lou, Gaza is by far the most dangerous place on earth for a journalist to work. Some 200 have died since the beginning of the Israeli operation there. These killings, they were not accidental. This is not collateral damage. This was a targeted killing. As you said, Anas al-Sharif was a well-known correspondent for the Al Jazeera network. He and his team were staying in a tent just outside the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza City. Killed alongside him were his fellow reporter Mohammed Karake and camera operators Ibrahim Zahar, Mohammed Nufal and Momen Aliwa. Now, Israel claims that al-Sharif was the head of a Hamas cell, though the evidence that is made public, well, a lot of people have not found that at all compelling. The UN today has called this a grave breach of international law. So there is outrage generally at the deaths in Gaza of yet more journalists.
They didn't choose to report on war. They have become war correspondents because war has come to their country. And they're reporting on the war, that being targeted by Israel in some cases. They are facing the constant bombardment, constant displacement, starvation, degraded equipment, communications blackouts, all to bring us information and to help us understand what's happening inside Gaza.
Now, it's worth reminding viewers that the Israeli government does not let international media outlets like ITV News into Gaza. So the world relies on young people like Anas to give us first-hand testimony and witness of it.
You're killing journalists. Just when Netanyahu announced his plan to take over Gaza City. Why? like this man said, it was targeted. It wasn't collateral damage. It wasn't like it was in a building, the whole building collapsed. No, it was targeted. They knew where his location was and what kind of person he is. He had a press vest showing that he's from the media company. That's a war crime right there. You know, I think they want to take out everyone who's in the media, you know, because they're about to do something major. You know, there's some people living there in Gaza City right now. It's not fully broken, but there is a lot of rubble as well. So they're gonna mass, you know, take them all out or put them in a concentration camp like the Netanyahu was planning to do anyway. My advice is that any Israeli IDF soldiers who are watching this video, you know, why are you doing this? To protect Netanyahu from going to prison, you're gonna die for him? Is that it? Send me a message down below.
A war which has killed more than 60,000 people.
في كل ليلة الاحتلال الإسرائيلي يرتكب مجازر من المواطنين في هذه أحد المواطنين ما زال على قيد الحياة، وهنا الطواقم تحاول بإمكانيات بسيطة انتشار. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. استمر يا أستاذ أنس، استمر أنت صوتنا. سحب الجثامين من داخل هذه المدرسة. الآن حزام ناري واستهداف عدد من المدارس في مدرسة حمامة بحي الشيخ رضوان. غارة إسرائيلية تستهدف أحد المركبات هنا أمام مجمع الشفاء الطبي. الآن نتقدم إلى هذه المدرسة التي تم فيها المجزرة. الطواقم الطبية استطاعت أن يصل إلى المكان جثامين أشلاء. الحدث عن مجزرة كبيرة، عشرات من الشهداء هنا في داخل هذه المدرسة. واحد أناس واحد أمير خلي حد يخش عندك. لم أتمكن من الوصول إلى المنزل نتيجة هذا القصف المتواصل، وتم دفنه داخل مراكز اللواء.
صباح الخير. صباح الخير. صباح النور يا روحي. طبعا اليوم الصباح مختلف شام. على الجامعة. يلا باي يا بابا. أن نخلع هذه الخوذة ميادة التي أرهقتني طوال هذه الخطوة. كان على مدار الوقت يرافقني، والآن نعلن هنا من داخل قطاع غزة ومن داخل مدينة غزة هذا الإعلان ووقف إطلاق النار.
100 طفل كانوا يحفظون القرآن بين أروقة المسجد المستهدف.
أن وزارة الصحة الفلسطينية سيما في صفوف الأطفال، ونحن طبعا هذا المشهد هو جزء من المعاناة، جزء من المجاعة التي ما زالت متواصلة ومستمرة في داخل القطاع. نتحدث عن نقص جميع المواد الغذائية في داخل القطاع، نقص حليب الأطفال، أدنى المقومات الصحية.
في هذا الوقت جيش الاحتلال الإسرائيلي يرتكب مجزرة بعد استهداف
قتل الزملاء الصحفيين في قناة الجزيرة هو جريمة لم تكن الأولى من نوعها. الاحتلال يعني منذ بداية العدوان قتل عشرات الصحفيين، وهذه جريمة يجب أن يقف أمامها الجهات الدولية. يجب أن يكون هناك محكمة للاحتلال أمام هذه الجرائم التي ترتكب بحق الزملاء الذين ينقلون الحقيقة.
Alright guys, I'm gonna end the video there. As you can see, the last image, the last clip that, you know, it's horrifying scene, you know, the aftermath of the media people getting bombed over, you know, it's not right. I don't know when the people want to step up and do something about it. Anyways, if you like this video, if you're new to the channel, please like, share, and subscribe. Assalamu alaikum.